Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, the jungle of my backyard continues to get thinned out. On today's project, I'm trying to put 3 pots into one. I have my variegated Benjamina ficus here, Ficus Benjamina, and I've had the forest for a couple of years. I've also had a couple of side trees that I've put into separate pots, and I think I'm just going to make a thicker, bigger forest and go from 3 pots to 1. Easier maintenance for me. It's been such a busy spring. I'm feeling like I need to just hone down just a little bit. So we're going to put these 2 into this guy right here. But before we did that, just yesterday, I really quickly did a lot of pruning on 2 of my Zelkova forests. These Zelkova forests were put together with Androrobson earlier this late spring, early summer, and this is the first time I've put a scissors to them. Pruning them up, thinning them out, making sure I can see some of the trunks of the forest, and just getting an overall canopy feel on the sides and top and front and back. So in a matter of a few minutes, I was able to tackle both of these Zelkova forests and trim them up and get them ready for the next push of growth. These should push a lot more growth between now and the end of growing season this year. We'll probably trim them up one more time before we put them in the cold frame, and then they'll be set for the second year of growth next year. A great little quick project. Just fun to clip and use the clip and grow method to get some of the inside branches out and just thinning out and make sure the leaves for future branches are all pointing in the right direction. A couple of Zelkova forests wrapped up in a jiffy just yesterday. So back in front of the 2 ficus, the Benjamina variegated style, we got to get these out of the pots and get some work done. So let's go ahead and put this aside, and we'll take these little 2 out first. So I don't believe I have any wire in these. I do not. So we'll just go ahead and try to loosen up the sides here a little bit. So we got 1 pot for future use. We got a little bit of semi 360 growth here. We had a root right here that I chopped off to hope to get some finer roots, and looks like that's happened. This long root out here, we might be able to trim that up a little bit more too, so we'll clean that up a little bit more. We'll get the second one here. Aha! This one is actually wired down. I didn't think that any of my tropicals anymore were wired. So here we go. We'll get this one out of here. Wash these pots out a little later. So we have 2 trees to kind of wash off. See where some of these soil rock particles can be free from the inner workings of these root bases. And then we'll have to take apart the big pot. We have the big blue pot with the forest in it with some rocks. We got a couple of wires in here, so we're gonna go ahead and work on this guy. We've got 5 trees in this forest right now. 3 that are a little bit larger, a couple that are smaller, and these 2 in the back they just took apart. They're kind of in that medium range. So I should have 7 trees in this forest. We'll put them close together, I think. I learned from Andrew Robeson that a lot of us typically struggle with forests for the main reason that we put them all too far apart. We kind of evenly gap them and space them. We want to try to get rid of that habit. Okay, found the wire on this side. And I found the wire on this side. We're going to go back into this same shallow pot, I do believe. Here's one of the little ones. It's one of the other little ones. I've rinsed out the pot really well. Also rinsed out the root systems of the 7 trees. We've got some soil, and you can see they all kind of stand up on their own already because of the flat root system I've developed over the last couple of years. So we're not going to wire these in. We're just going to set them in and use some rocks to hold these in. And then now for the creativity part. Let's see what we can develop. Now, I will cut a couple of roots because they are growing a little bit wonky right now. We've got this root jutting way back towards the center of the tree here. We don't want that one, so we're going to cut that one off in promotion of these littler ones. And I think it's time to actually cut this one off completely. A little bit on the rotten side there. Yeah, we're going to hope that that makes a full recovery. This one's a little high as well. We'll cut that one right off. We've got plenty of roots down here starting to form. There we go. So we clean that tree up nicely. We'll hope for some new roots here down at the bottom. Okay. This one I noticed, look at the bulbous root on that one. We're going to cut that right off. I'm going to cut this off right here. Shorten up these longer roots here. Got a couple feet of roots here that divided real nice. We'll make it divide some more. This one has one funky one here in the bottom we're going to take off. And there's almost a bit of a bulbous one right there. Yeah, that one's a little bit bulbousy as well. I think I may want to cut that one off. We have a nice little splay of roots here on this one. There's some nice roots coming off of this now. And I think this bigger one's going to come off as well. So let's get this bulbous, get our nabari down a little bit lower. There. That gives us another ½ an inch of tree. But I think we will get rid of this bulbous root right here. There we go. We'll see if any new root structures grow from there. So there's tree number 2. The third tree, another high root here. Get rid of that one. And then I think this one's too high. We're going to get rid of that one. Going to shorten up some of these roots out here. And we have a bit of a gnarly mess here. This one's curving back in, so let's cut off the curve and let it continue to work at growing outward. There's a bulbous one right here that's starting to form. I don't like the direction that one's maybe going to turn. Oh, it's really, it winds way underneath here. Winds way underneath here, and it's this root way back over here. If I cut that one out, that whole side will die. I think we're going to have to leave that one there for one more repot. We'll see. This one, we're going to get rid of this high one over here. Again, get our nabari a little bit higher. We're going to cut off some of these longer roots here. I think I'll actually cut that whole thick one off there. And we'll let those continue to develop off that back side. And this one we're going to get rid of this high one. A lot of high roots on this guy. We're going to bring it down for a new root plane. And the rest of this looks okay. This is that big one. This is kind of shooting underneath. Let's go ahead and get that one out actually. These are all sit flat now. I'm a little bit concerned about that one though. If I get rid of that, there's no roots on almost half the tree though. I think we'll wait one more season with that one too and we'll just see. And then the little one, not much to cut off. We have 3 primary trees that are going to make up this forest. And that one kind of goes to the right, the back one's straight up, and this one can kind of lean to the left, I think. I'm going to have to get some rocks to hold these into place. Well, as I step back to take a peek, that would be a fun root over rock back there, huh? I just can't support that right now. I do like the little tree in front. I think that middle tree is going to have to be the middle tree. That left tree does lean to the left nice with no growth on the right, so that fits really well. These two right here. And again, I can put a tree real nice and close here. And I got those. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where is tree number 7? That one can slide in back here as well. I got a cluster of 4 and 3. I'm thinking I want them all to be closer together. I always seem to put a path in the middle of my forests. And although that's a pretty nice configuration of trees, I think I want it to be just one thick, solid forest. So here's what I'm going to do. One of the tricks we have to placing forests is to get our soil wet, and then it'll help hold the trees together. So I'm going to get my bonsai soil wet, and then we'll be right back. I like the layout of the trees the way they are, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start putting them where they need to go with some wet soil. So this will be in the front. We're going to put this one a little bit more over here, placed in the center. We'll get that center a little bit higher. And again, if you haven't done the wet soil technique, get your soil wet as you place your trees, and it'll help to hold your trees in place a lot more until they get tangled with the other trees. I got those over there, this over here. There. So now with that wet soil in there, you can place your trees and then rearrange them as you need to later. This is a more majestic tree. Perhaps this one should be where that one is now. Yeah, that looks like a nicer main tree. Got the 7 trees in there. I think this one's leaning a little bit too much to the back. There we go. And then I snuck in this one back here. And I think that one's okay back there. So pretty much head on. The only thing that's questionable is this tree right here. It's just almost directly behind that one, but not quite. But again, I don't want trees so perfectly spaced, and they look spaced a little bit too perfectly again. A little bit closer. Look at it again. So here we go. Yeah, so now we have the main tree. These two next bigger sizes, and that one back there is right close to this one, close to that one. Those two are much closer now, right here and here, and we got these two small ones out for a little bit of perspective on this side, and then this tree over here for a little perspective in the back. Now if I could tilt this one a little bit more this way. Tuck in some of these roots. We don't want too bulgy of a pot. We run the risk of watering issues. Water running right off the pot, so we have to make sure we water these really, really well. Get a couple of roots here from that tree. Kind of direct them down over here. Oops. And then we might want to sphagnum moss this tree because of the delicate roots that are up at the tip to keep this thing moist a little bit longer. All right, let's step back and take a peek. So what was an okay forest of 5 has now become a better forest of 7 with the way these trees are growing. That's fantastic. We can go ahead and give a little bit of a trim on here, get some small stones in there, some sphagnum moss, and I think we'll be in good shape. Let's do a little trimming first. So just a little bit of thinning out some of the branches, promoting some new growth, making sure some light can get way in there with the new closer proximity of trees. I went ahead and moistened up some shredded sphagnum moss. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little layer of sphagnum moss around this new potted forest. And then I'll put some rocks on. The sphagnum moss is really going to help with the moisture for this particular planting, because I do know that I changed the root plane of this forest quite a bit on a lot of the trees. And so the trees are going to sit a little higher than they were before, and some of the roots are close to the surface. So I don't want them to dry out. So a little bit of sphagnum moss, gives this potted forest a little bit more of a bulgy look out of the pot. And again, that'll help when I water, to make sure I water. I got to make sure that I water really thoroughly, so the water just doesn't run down the moss. So when you're watering a forest or a tree with this much moss on there, when you water it first, you're going to water the moss, and you're going to step away and water a different tree, and then when you come back, then you're going to get more water into the pot. And then with these particular trees, these Benjamina that I've had for a couple of years, I have noticed that the trunks can stay pretty wet. So if we have too much moss by the base of the tree, that could be a little detrimental as well. So now that I have the moss getting closer to evenly spread, I just want to make sure that the trunks of these trees can breathe a little bit. So we don't want moss to grow up the trunks of our trees. It's going to create a really moist environment. You could have some issues with some fungus. And so I'm just putting a little bit of gap between the moss and the trunks of these trees. As I step back and take a peek with you all, there is the front of the tree forest, and that looks, I think, a lot better than what was in here before. Got a little fun movement with this tree out here. I don't even know if I need rocks, to be honest, but we're going to go ahead and put a couple here just for some protection, in case anything decides to get a little wonky here with wind in the coming couple of days. And this might even keep the critters a little further away from my trees because of all the rocks. So the rocks will come off later, but let's give the new forest a 360. Coming off to the right side, you see we have trees at different planes on the side, the back. This tree with some forced perspective in the back, smaller tree, looks not too bad from that angle as well. This side, a little bit lined up in that back row, and back to the front. So there we have our new Ficus benjamina variegated forest with 7 trees instead of the 5. I think it's looking a whole lot better. We've got the sphagnum moss there, the rocks to hold in place for now. We'll give them one more watering and put them back into some partial sun, partial shade. We've got some good warmth, so the roots will be very happy over the next couple days. I've just got to make sure that it stays watered. So we'll be careful with those real midday heat days coming up. That'll wrap things up for the Benjamina variegated ficus tree forest. We've got a forest of 7 and I'm liking it quite a lot. Hey, thanks for watching this one. We've got a lot more of the jungle to thin out, so more episodes to come just around the corner. And an update on the PSGF. Ooh, might be coming around the corner as well. Stay tuned for that. Until the next video, hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you on the next one.